This is 99 Cent Rental. I'm your host, Brian White, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Dave White. Hey, Dave, how you doing over there?
Hello. I'm all right. It is very cold today. We've reached the doldrums of winter, which I don't care for. I was reminded this morning while I was listening to a podcast. Remember Quantum Leap, the show?
I do.
And so, you know, the premise of Quantum Leap, for people who don't remember it or don't know what it is Scott Bakula. He's like a dude from the future who like kind of time travels a little bit, like jumps from person, like body to body. It's basically the Incredible Hulk, where he like goes from town to town to solve people's problems, except it's body to body. And it is made explicitly clear to the viewer in the intro to the show every single time that all he really wants is he's constantly hoping that the next leap will be the leap home. He just wants to go home. Show's on for like 5 fucking seasons. The end of the series, dies and doesn't go home. What the hell kind of ending is that?
Well, wait, was it a
series?
series finale or did it get canceled?
No, it was the series finale.
What?
Yeah, he just fucking dies. He never makes it home. That's the whole premise of the show.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yes, I so see the way that like those old like, you know, serialized sort of adventure shows used to get me as like, you know, they had that sort of premise where like, well, if I can just do this, then everything will be fine. We'll thing, but they never get there because like they never had like a 6-season plan. It was just season after season until people eventually got fucking sick of it. That's crazy.
It's like if Cheers ended with someone bombing the bar. Okay. And that's just the last episode.
All right. Do you remember this show Dinosaurs?
I do.
Do you know how Dinosaurs ended?
I do not.
It ended with the asteroid striking the Earth,
that's true.
And they all
but that
die.
makes a little bit more sense though, because like that's a thing that happened.
Well, yeah, but you don't expect this, like, you know, several seasons of this show that, you know, they're all going to die. Because if you've ever, you can look it up on YouTube, and a lot of it is them trying to explain to the baby what is about to happen. And
Jesus.
It is grim.
That is bleak.
It is very, very grim.
I mean, like, I get that they can't all be like the ending of Newhart, which, let's all be honest, is the greatest ending to any TV
of
show.
all time. Or St. Elsewhere.
But like, goddamn.
Holy shit. Yeah, man. Like that's ballsy to end your show like that. Yeah. I mean, was it at least like a heroic ending? Like he sacrificed himself or he was just like, oops, didn't solve the mystery in time.
You know, like he solves Al's whole conundrum, the Dean Stockwell character. And then that's about it. Then he just, that gets it. He dies after that.
That's wild.
Like, I think he does sacrifice himself in order to solve Al's problem, but like the whole fucking point of the show was so he could go home. Al's a hologram. I think Al's dead.
I don't know. I can't remember it. I can't remember it all that well. All I know is they remade it recently, and it's okay.
Do you think they left out some of maybe the more problematic episodes?
Probably.
You know which one I'm thinking of.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hey, it's hard to explain to someone who never had the experience what a trip to the video store was like back in the day. The shelves were choked with absolutely bizarre crap made on tiny budgets, like tonight's movie. Completely divorced from any recognizable reality, like tonight's movie. And it was the best, like tonight's movie. We intend to talk about every one of them. And just before we get into it, here's a little housekeeping. You want to keep up with us between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod. Dave's over there at That Werewolf.
Al?
You were encouraged to follow us.
Yes, do.
Yeah. Like if you've been listening to this show for a while, you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll follow those guys.
Yeah, and here's why. You know, I sent you the statistic I heard today that was across the Meta platforms, progressive leaning accounts are being essentially throttled at their 65% decrease in reach.
Yep. All because of woke.
Yeah. But hey, I got a big old mouth and I'm going to just keep yelling about dumb shit.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be as annoying and obnoxious as possible.
But we need your help in order to do that.
Yeah. So, give us a follow. I'm also on TikTok. I haven't updated TikTok.
He is out there on Red Note, just twerking and doing the stroll.
You know, I'm just posing.
Well, you got to get back on TikTok. It's where the I don't know what's
that's
on
where the
there.
action's at. That's where the action's at. The hot action. And as far as I know, no fascist oligarchs own it yet. Though I hear
the
Mr.
Chinese Communist Party owns it.
I know. I suppose other things, though. I hear Mr. Beast, who's running a literal Squid Game.
I don't understand. What is a Mr. Beast?
I don't want to talk about Mr. Beast right now. He's a guy who lucked out on YouTube and makes billions of dollars.
Is he like one of them sex perverts?
And he is embroiled in a terrible sexual abuse scandal amongst like basically everybody that he's ever employed, and also some of the stunts that he has pulled have affected his employees horribly. Also, the whole reason that he seems so popular is because there is this promise that if you subscribe to him, you'll have a chance to go and do one of his sadistic, weird Squid Game challenges and potentially win like a lot of money. But really, all the people who win on his show are his employees.
What if instead I wanted to slap him in the mouth?
Oh, I would love for nothing but for like a piano to fall on him.
And then
when the dust settles, he's there with like birds over his head and his teeth are piano keys.
And his keys, yeah. No, that makes sense.
That'd be really great. Or like an anvil. An anvil or a safe would also work.
Every time I see these, I guess influencers, I don't know what the fuck to call these people. Anytime I see them show up, I always just assume that the dudes are doing something creepy, like sending underage girls like dick pics.
Oh yeah. It's just in his case, like he's too big to fail at this point. But like, yeah, my understanding of high performing YouTube and TikTok stars is that they have to be psychopaths. You absolutely have to be of a particular mental disposition in order to become like rich that way. Like you have got to be narcissistic and sociopathic.
Okay, well then I feel a little less bad because every time I see these people pop up on my screen, I look at their face and the urge to bully them is just insatiable.
Yeah,
and I'm always like, that's not me.
With him in particular, they use the same picture of him in every Mr. Beast thumbnail.
And he's got like the hard curtain bangs.
Yeah, he's got this like crazy smile, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He also can't make eye contact when he has conversations.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't know, we have another show called Bring Me the Axe. Our latest episode covering Alice, Sweet Alice, is out now, and it'll make you feel real grimy and gross.
Yeah.
So go back and listen to that one. It's real fun if you haven't listened. And we'll be back next week with a look at Blackula.
Mm-hmm. You can also Patreon.
You can. Oh, that's right. But I'm going to get to that in a second. You can also contact us directly at 99cent rental, gmail.com with any 99cent rental pod at gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestion. Do let us know if there's a cheesy movie that you love. We'd like to hear us give it the business. And if you would like to support us on Patreon, please do.
Yes.
We love it.
Mm-hmm.
You can look us up over there at patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. A couple of tiers you can join there. Subscribers at the $5 a month tier can look forward to our bi-weekly X-Files rewatch pod. Do You Think I'm Spooky? Which is about half X-Files and half of us just kind of yucking it up and all the horrible things happening in the 90s.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I was out for a walk and I was thinking about that show and I was like, wow, about half of that show is just me talking about news from the 90s.
It's part of the draw, really.
Michael says it's his favorite part. So,
it's honestly talking about it. Like I love the X-Files. Talking about it. Maybe it's just because we're talking about like season 1 X-Files episodes, and we're just kind of like slogging our way through them. But like that setup. That's my favorite part of the show too. We've also got our Millennium Edition, where once a month we get us talking about a horror movie made within the last 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we got some great stuff. We got our Barbarian episode just dropped.
Oh.
So go check that out. $5 a month. We sure would love it. There's also my DJ show, Radio Free Haddonfield. Our latest episode was actually put together by Dave.
Yeah, it was me. I was like, hey, what's the most subtle music I can find?
Film music.
Mm-hmm.
Your Fabio Frizzi pick was surprising.
Why?
It's like because it was like the least musical of his like his horror movie stuff.
Oh, I love that score.
It's City of the Living Dead is probably my favorite one. That's also my favorite Fulci, I think, or my favorite Fulci horror movie, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can expect a surprising mixtape of everything from rock to disco to punk over there. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmethexpod. We've also got merch. You get yourself a nice Bring Me the Axe or 99-cent rental t-shirt or hoodie.
Yeah, it's fucking cold. So get the sweatshirts.
Fucking A. Bundle up. Why? And bundle up in our merch while you're at it. I mean, why not?
I mean, unless it's warm
yourself.
where you live. Yeah. If it's warm where you live, you get a t-shirt on.
This is true. Yeah. I mean,
but you know
treat yourself. We're living in the end times. Do something nice for yourself.
It is very hard for me to not talk about the end times right now.
Lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. Also, search us by name and subscribe if you prefer to consume your podcast that way. And you'd be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So, like I said, we're living in the end times. What do you got to lose?
Yeah. Let's live it up. Let's give each other 5-star reviews.
Yep. And like the kids used to say, YOLO.
I don't spend time with children.
They don't say that. I haven't said that in like 10 years.
Okay.
Unless we're talking about those psychos at Wall Street Bets.
I'm sorry, what?
Don't worry about it. That's another tangent. You'd be doing us. Fuck, I just said
yeah.
that.
Great. See, this is what happens when somebody keeps interrupting the intro over and over again.
And if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor. Give the episode a like. Leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Just want to get all that out of the way right at the top of the show because we got a fucking doozy for you tonight. We're going Italian tonight.
Yeah.
Been a little while since we've been to Italy.
Yeah, here's the longest trailer ever.
Jesus fucking Christ. And it's basically the entire movie. Here we go.
The authorities declare the Bronx a high-risk zone. There's only one alternative: destroy it. Destroy it. Escape from the Bronx.
It's not a lot of dialogue in this one.
Not a lot of talking in this one. I mean, at least the song's good.
Yeah, I know. It's great. Francisco Damasi, fantastic score.
Yeah, Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Escape from the Bronx. Escape from the Bronx.
That's literally all they've said the whole trailer.
Yeah, I wonder what this movie's called.
Doesn't matter.
Henry Silva. Jesus Christ. 3 minutes of a 3 minutes of a movie trailer with no dialogue, just guns and music and shit blowing up.
Yeah, it's mostly just it's like that, but that's like the whole movie.
It really is. It makes me wonder how this episode's going to go down because unfortunately, like a lot of these Italian like ripoffs and exploitation movies, not really much to know about it.
It is surprising that like they somehow this movie has less of a plot than the first one.
It is hard to believe, though. Not gonna lie, I think I like this one better than the first one. Okay,
we'll get to that though, because I was almost there and then I wasn't.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. This movie kind of loomed largely in my imagination for a really long time. Cause when we first got our like the first time we got a VCR and we got our first video rental membership at a place in Salem called Video Paradise. Mm-hmm. They had this poster on the wall. And it was a very alluring poster. They had it right next to the Slumber Party Massacre poster.
Oh, wow.
And these were like big movie posters too. These weren't like, like small things. They were really huge, and they had them up high along the sort of like the top of the shop towards the ceiling,
like two
so that
sheets
everybody could see them.
Yeah.
And this poster, it was like, I was like, I wonder what that movie's about. Escaping the Bronx, it turns out.
And literally nothing else. Nothing else.
Not a lot. Not a lot else. There's just a lot of people getting shot, a lot of people getting burned, a lot of people getting blown up. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of people getting run over. We get a very silly bad guy named Floyd Wrangler.
Floyd Wrangler, fucking best name ever. Hey, Henry Silva, is it a wig? Yeah, it is. Big time.
Oh boy, yeah. This one lives a little like really kind of strangely because like this is not exactly a Mad Max ripoff in the way that a lot of other Italian Max exploitation movies were at the time. Like this one is very obvious. Where when we did 1990 Bronx Warriors last year, around this time, that one is very clearly riffing on the Warriors.
Yes,
like all the way. And then this one features most of the same characters, but this time it's Escape from New York.
I dare say this is a Bronx Warriors ripoff. That's what this is.
Right. There's even that. I can't remember what her name is now, but the ogre had that kind of.
Oh, the porn star?
The lady in leather.
Yeah, she was an Italian adult film star.
Well, in this one, she is. In that one, that was a different actress. I think that we were just like, she was like a fashion model. In this one, her name is Mona Pozzi, but it's spelled Mona.
Yeah. And she was a politician too. She and another adult film actor started their own political party. It was called like the Free Love Party.
I fucking love that, man. Mm-hmm. Italy is the land of opportunity. Truly.
I think she's trolling the Italian government with that, and I love it.
That's so fucking funny. I fucking love this. I love this movie. I think that Castellari's versions of these movies are the best. This one is considered the final in his Bronx Warriors trilogy, though.
For some reason,
New Barbarians has nothing to do with with these movies whatsoever.
No. And also sometimes Endgame gets lumped in there too, even though
Endgame is fucking by Joe D'Amato.
Yeah, and has nothing to do with it, except that New Barbarians, I think Al Cliver is in that one as well. And they shot them basically at the same time. They even use like the same sets and the same props a lot of the time.
Yeah. Let's see. Endgame. I think I get Endgame confused with Fulci's.
Endgame. Well, they're very similar in plot. Endgame is also it's like a televised death game show kind of thing.
Right. And that's the one where Al Cliver is the best of the best.
Yeah. He's Snake Plissken essentially.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I was reading an interview with Dardano Sacchetti this afternoon, and he was talking about how at the time there were all like in Italy, there were these really on Italian TV, because this was around the time that like TV was really taking off in Italy in the 70s.
Oh, sure. Because like right around this time is like when Lamberto Bava starts making a lot of like giallo, but they're for television specifically.
Yeah. So Bava does it, Fulci does it. And so there were like tons and tons of game shows, and Sacchetti was saying like he would occasionally catch them, and he found them to be not just really violent, he thought they were really cruel. And so he was kind of shocked by that. And so like that kind of inspired him to work that into these stories all the time. Like he would always find ways.
He was watching cruel game shows?
Yeah.
Are these like those weird Japanese ones from the 90s?
I don't think they're quite as bad as that, but they were like very physical. So it's not like Extreme Elimination Challenge, but like it's like maybe a little bit, but like they were just kind of mean and like mean spirited and very like,
okay. Yeah, I get you.
And they sort of like, nobody felt good about them when they were over. And so he found ways to work those into like the idea of this sort of televised
so
violence.
They were like a televised Mr. Beast challenge.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not going to slap Dardano Sacchetti in the face.
No, that man's a fucking national treasure for Italy.
I'll give him a big hug.
You gonna slap a national treasure?
Well, it depends. Definitely not him. I mean, Celine Dion, maybe.
You gotta leave her alone.
She's been through a lot, though.
She can't sing no more.
I think she will. She will. Remember that interview? She was like, I will sing. I will sing again.
If she fucking comes back, I will move to Canada. I will move to Quebec.
Okay, easy.
I will learn to speak Quebecois French. Oh boy. Yeah. So here, let's talk some facts here, shall we?
Yes, Maestro Castellari.
Yep. So the year was 1983, year of our Lord. Mm-hmm. So here were some other sequels released in the year of 1983. Jaws 3D came out in 1983.
I like that movie.
I don't like that one. Amityville 3D also came out that year.
I don't. That movie's terrible.
Big year for 3D. I think we talked about that in our Friday the 13th Part 3 episode. Not 3D. Superman 3 came out.
Ooh.
That's the one where Richard Pryor skis off the side of the World Trade Center.
And Richard Pryor was high as hell.
He probably came up with that scene on his own after consuming an entire 8-ball of blow himself.
Yeah, this seems like the Stephen King Cujo thing where if you were like, hey, Richard Pryor, what do you remember about Superman 3? And he'd be like, what do you mean Superman 3?
He's like, was I in that?
There was a Superman 3? They made 3 of those?
Be like, bitch, there's a Superman 4. Mm-hmm. Yep. We've also got Smokey and the Bandit 3 that year.
Oh, Jesus. Who's in the third one?
I can't remember. The only returning star was Jackie Gleason.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's tough.
I know. And rounding it out, Porky's 2 The Next Day came out in 1983.
Those movies are rapey.
Yep. When sexual assault jokes were funny. It's like that Indian movie I watched the other night, Mahakal. It's their Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff, but it's got a lot of slapstick comedy in it. There's a Michael Jackson impersonator and a tremendous amount of sexual assault that's played for laughs.
Okay, I don't.
Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that. It makes me wonder if the women of India are okay. I don't know. I'm not confident. Anyway, our director is one of my favorites.
Yep.
Enzo G. Castellari. We talked about him. I'm just going to kind of give you the rundown. Same thing that we did in our Bronx Warriors episode.
Yeah, he is the product of a dynasty.
Oh, yeah. He is the son of filmmaker Marino Girolami. And a hell of a filmmaker in his own right. He's up there with Sergio Martino among my favorites.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. He had a knack for stretching the shit out of a dollar, or a lira, if you will, and knocked out some real high-energy exploitation pictures during Italy's film boom in the 70s. A couple of macaroni combat movies. Have you seen Eagles Over London?
There's Americans in that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Holy shit. He also did the original Inglourious Bastards, which is also magnificent.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yep. As well as some stellar spaghetti westerns and a Franco Nero poliziotesco called High Crime, which I also
That movie fucking rules.
Highly recommend.
High Crime's awesome. Heroin Busters, also awesome.
Yeah.
Il Grand Racket, super cool.
Yeah. Fucking Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah. High Crime might be my favorite of his poliziotesco.
It's also got a fucking killer soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah. This movie falls on the latter part of his career. He stopped making theatrical features a few years after this one. And like you mentioned, he started working in television production until his retirement.
They all seem to do that. It must just be easier.
It's probably a much more relaxed schedule. Like these guys have been dancing as fast as they can for years to like bust these movies out in like a 3-month production cycle, since the 60s.
Yeah. Well, also what happened too towards the late 80s, that was when they stopped. Films were bought differently. They were distributed differently. So like you couldn't just go to, like a film marketplace in Japan and sell them the distribution rights for a movie that doesn't exist. Like it stopped working that way. And so they had to put up or come up with the money up front all the time. And that was just like way too hard to do because they always banked on selling foreign rights.
Right.
And so that was how they got these movies made. And then once they couldn't do that as much or eventually not at all, they just sort of stopped doing it.
Right. Because particularly from this point on, particularly for Fulvia Films, which is Fabrizio De Angelis's outfit, like he produced some like real fucking heavy hitters in the 70s and like real early 80s. And then from this point on, things get really fucking shifty. Like all of the big guys, they move out. They either get sort of absorbed into the American machine or they retire. And he's really just kind of left with like Bruno Mattei and Claudio Fragasso.
Oh, yikes.
And so like from here, I like to a point where like I believe De Angelis was also directing his own movies at a certain point. Like he moved out of the producer role. Like he did a bunch of those Boy in the Golden Kimono movies, which I've seen a couple of them, and they are holy shit.
Yeah, once you get into the adventure stuff, like the goofy adventure stuff, it's not good.
Yeah, it's that, and like a lot of they start to lose some of their kind of like B-grade American talent. Like those guys start working in America again, and so all they're really left with for American talent in Italy is like Reb Brown.
So everything's got Reb Brown, and it's like a Reb Brown Bud Spencer fucking slapstick comedy.
Or it's like a non-exploitation thing.
Okay, I kind of like those.
Have you seen Robo War?
Yes.
That one is fucking crazy.
I watched that not that long ago.
Oh boy, it is. Because I think, was it Severin put it out? I think in the last couple of years.
It's not good. It's
really not good. It's like if I had to characterize the movie, it's every time Reb Brown shoots a gun, he also screams at the top of his lungs. And I don't know.
I feel like, did he kill himself? I feel like he killed himself.
No, I don't.
He has the look of a guy who killed himself.
No, he's out there, man, just doing his thing. I'm not sure what he does today. I'm sure he like plays like professional poker or something.
Okay. He owns like an emu farm.
right.
In like New Mexico.
His space mutiny fortune into like I don't know, miniature horse racing or something like that.
Something normal.
Like he bought a Highlight team or something like that.
I think the point is that these movies, I think these Bronx movies, these are really like the last gasp of the good Italian era.
Absolutely. This
goes down the fucking toilet after this.
Yeah, because everybody like the polizioteschi thing is kind of running out of gas. The Giallo thing, like all of the guys who really knew how to make Giallo were again retiring, moving into television, or just going to America. Like Dario Argento in the 80s starts producing in the United States. And again, like some of the worst fucking Giallo ever made were made in the 80s.
Once you get the late 80s, it gets really rough. Like I like A Blade in the Dark, but that's like probably the last good one you're going to get.
Yeah, God, it's fucking tough. And so this was really the last big boom. And the thing is I remember, and there are a lot of these movies, I remember there being so fucking many of them, but really they're only made between 1982 and like 84. I mean, they were still making post-nukes into the 90s, but not with the same sort of verve, right?
Yeah, you could stretch it a little bit to like 78, 79 if you want to, but a lot of those are not necessarily Italian, or they're like Italian-American co-productions.
Yeah.
And they're more serious. They're not like post-apocalyptic schlock. But I fucking love these movies. We are both well-documented lovers of Italian cinema.
I love Italian movies. I love Italian music. I love Italian food.
Yeah, no.
I like gelato.
Okay, yeah, they're delicious.
Yeah, just one of these days I'm gonna go to Italy, and maybe never come home.
It's every day. Every day it gets harder.
Just go to Italy. Maybe
Canada is right there.
Canada is literally
they're
right
so
there.
much better.
So I'll tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what. If it comes to it, I'm a carrier rifle for Canada.
Hell yeah,
because it's looking grim out there.
Treat them like that. Nobody puts Canada in a corner.
So our cast once again: Marco Di Gregori. AKA Mark Mushmouth talking, tight pants walking Gregory.
Yeah, his heart is not in this one. If his heart was ever in any of them, it's not this one.
Well, here's the thing. Mark Gregory was 17 when he made
16.
Bronx Warriors.
He's 16.
18 in this movie. And DeAngelis and Castellari were like, we maybe fucked up in pulling this guy in so young. Because like he didn't really handle, because the thing is they thought that they had like a breakout international action movie star with this guy.
Why? Just because of his
no
look?
Idea.
Based entirely on the way he looks. He didn't speak English. He's not an actor. He does not know how to act. He is not good at it.
No, and it really gives you a little insight into the sort of the mind of the Italian man, because like we go into this a little bit in the Bronx Warriors episode when we talked about the sort of the presence of the Hells Angels on the set of that movie, where the producers and Castellari were totally confused about the way that all of the Hells Angels guys seemed to kind of take a knee and take orders from this just squirrely little guy who would just bark orders and they would follow them without question. But he was not this like big burly macho man. He was just this little guy who had probably done horrible, unspeakable violence.
Right. While the rest of them would threaten violence, this guy would actually kill you.
Yeah. And so like they get this kid who's like Mark Gregory. I think he's a good looking guy. He's muscular. He's a bodybuilder. He's got a nice tan. He's got this hair.
This lion's mane of hair.
It's a great thing, but good God, man. He looks like he just does not know what to do with his body.
Well, he also, by all accounts, he seems like he was not a well person. Like he had a lot of emotional problems, a lot of mental health issues that went unchecked. I mean, eventually he killed himself.
Yeah, he commits suicide in 2013.
And so like every interview that I've heard, like people talking about him, everyone's like, well, he was really quiet and he was very unassuming, but he seemed like he was struggling a lot just sort of with life.
And then they take him from Italy and they move him to New York City. And they start to teach him English, and they're like, "This kid is gonna be our fucking movie star." And then like they make these two movies with him. They make 3 of the Thunder movies.
Oh, those are rough.
In which he plays a Native American, and all of them are effectively the same movie. Where it's
Rambo, but extremely racist.
It's not Rambo. It's First Blood, which is a different movie than Rambo. But they're effectively the same movie over and over.
Yeah, he comes back to the reservation.
Yeah, and I watched those when I first watched those. I went into them assuming they were going to be pretty racist, and even I was surprised.
Yeah, they're tough.
But yeah, so. in this movie, so this movie was produced about a year after New Barbarians was, or rather a year after Bronx Warriors was made. And in that time, like, he lost a little weight. And so
I went back because it's 18 months between Bronx Warriors and this one. And so I looked at photographs of him in Bronx Warriors. It's more than a little. It's not really weight. It's muscle mass.
It's muscle mass is what it was.
And it is noticeably different.
And they were so fucking disappointed in there. They're like, Mamma Mia, where'd all the muscles go? And then, and so they make
Marco, manja.
You're too skinny. So they keep, because in the first one, it's like fucking tank top on the whole time to a point where, like, at the end, they finally like find a reason to rip the thing off. Mm-hmm. In this one, they make him keep his fucking jacket on for most of the movie until the very end. And even then, the tank top stays on.
And I'm going to guess they were probably not quiet or shy about stating their disappointment. Probably over and over. And I'll be honest, like, I've watched a bunch of interviews with Castellari and D'Angelis, and they seem like okay guys. Like, I mean, they're men in their 70s. So take that for what it's worth. And it carries all that implies. But
I mean, my understanding of these guys physically is they probably smoked a lot of they probably smoked constantly. They probably drank a lot of espresso, and I only can imagine that they drank about a bottle of olive oil a day.
And like, I'm guessing there was just ceaseless womenizing.
Oh, no question about it whatsoever.
Like the worst misogyny and homophobia and racism. Like, it's
this script has a couple of moments where I was like,
from the mouths of babes, no less.
There's one in particular, my very favorite one.
Don't worry, I'll do them.
We'll get there. Holy
only
shit.
One of us is allowed to do some of these. But yeah, like, I watch them.
I'm not going to say the F slur.
I watch them and they seem like really nice guys. And I'm sure they are. Like, you know, like, they're just men of a certain age. Right. They should know better. They don't.
No,
I'm gonna let it go.
I will say this: in those the search for trash videos, which again, we talked about it in the Bronx Warriors episode. I'll touch on it briefly here. There's a guy in England who was like, "Whatever happened to Mark Gregory?" Because there was a bit of like among fans of these movies, there were like people who were like, "Whatever happened to that guy?"
Yeah, but this guy's quest is a little like unhinged.
He goes out of his fucking way. But when they found out, both DeAngelis and Castellari found out that he had not just died, but committed suicide, like, they were very hurt. Like, they were very sad about that.
Sure.
And so,
I mean, their macho culture is obviously, it's like, it's all fake. It's just to cover up of like insecurities and shit. And so it's the same here, but like, so underneath it, it's like, they're probably just normal men. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say they're innocent men, but they're normal men.
Just normal men.
And so, like, you get the feeling that they're nice guys, but you know they were probably shitty to him a little bit. Some of them were, at least.
Well, sure. I mean, especially since they spent so much fucking money on like turning this guy into their next big thing, and then like he just kind of peters out. Like, he just does not live up to their expectation. I mean, he probably came over here and just like stopped lifting. You know,
it seems like he stopped doing everything. Like, he just wouldn't go out because he didn't speak English.
Right. He had nowhere to fucking go.
So, like, what are you going to do? He's like 17 years old. He's by himself in New York in the 70s or the early 80s anyway. And he doesn't speak the language. And there's like nobody else here with him. Like, so, yeah.
Fucking Christ.
And he's a fucking terrible actor. Like, you can tell he doesn't want to do, it's like someone has a gun to his head in this movie.
It really is. It's such a weird performance in both movies. I think it's way more pronounced in the first one. In this one, he seems to loosen up.
He's loosened up a little bit.
He doesn't have that weird walk that he has.
I know, and it's a worse movie for it.
This is true. Yeah.
Look, you skipped over, we jumped from Castellari to Mark Gregory. The movie is written not by Dardano Sacchetti. It's like one of the few that he did not write.
And it shows.
Yeah.
It shows. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have the sort of, I don't know, that vibe that Sacchetti movies tend to have.
Sacchetti je ne sais quoi. No, it's Castellari and Tito Carpi who wrote, he wrote fuckloads of movies, but
oh, sure.
He wrote like as many. They're just not quite as recognizable. But he wrote Tentacles, which is one of my favorite Italian films.
Tentacles.
He wrote Tentacles. He also wrote Atlantis Interceptors, which is another movie I really love.
Jesus fucking Christ.
With Christopher Connolly
that one at some point, because that is a movie that I am absolutely convinced the 2/3 of that movie's budget went up Ruggero Deodato's nose.
Probably. The movie makes no fucking sense at all.
3 fucking movies smashed together into one.
He also wrote a movie that with a classically Italian title. They call him The Player with the Dead. I have no idea what that implies, but I would like to see that movie now.
I would also. Is that the translation or is that the English title?
It's probably it's probably the English title, but I'm guessing it's pretty close to the translation.
Oh, Jesus Christ. They call him Trinity. They call him Django.
Oh.
Yeah.
They got to call him something.
Gotta call him something. Call her One Eye. So we've also got Henry Silva, who was
Floyd Wrangler.
Floyd Wrangler. He's a Rat Pack adjacent character actor from the original Ocean's 11. He was also in Sergeants 3 and The Manchurian Candidate. Played a lot of villains.
Alligator. He's in Alligator. Don't forget that.
He is in so many fucking movies too. He is such a recognizable face.
You know who he looks like? Who's the guy who plays Barlow in Salem's Lot? He had the scars all over his face. He's in Mark of the Devil.
I don't know. I always for some reason I always confuse him with the guy who plays the hearse driver.
Yeah, he looks a little bit like him, but it's not him. Henry Silva looks a little bit like him.
Yeah. He played a lot of villains during his career, found success in Italy when he got to play a heroic role in some spaghetti westerns before returning to villainous roles in Poliziotteschi. He also played a Japanese detective in one of the Mr. Moto sequels.
Oh, yikes. That can't be good.
Nope.
Ever since he got that wig and found his confidence, thought he could do everything.
And rounding out our cast, Antonio Sabato Sr., another Italian character actor who found early success in American films thanks to John Frankenheimer. He was a clutch actor in the 60s and 70s Italian film boom and westerns Poliziotteschi. He's the father of minor league 90s hunk Antonio Sabato Jr.
And present day piece of shit Antonio Sabato Jr.
who tanked his own career by posting every maggot brain conspiracy theory he could think of on Twitter, running a ridiculous hyper-conservative congressional campaign in California, vocally supporting Donald Trump, and then cried to the press that nobody wanted to work with him in Hollywood anymore.
Yeah. You say the N-word 7 times and all of a sudden you're canceled.
You don't just say it. You call Obama the N-word 7 times. Jesus. Yeah. Fucking Christ. Good job.
Another
Antonio
DEI hire.
Fucking Christ. Sabato Sr. in this movie is carrying this picture. He is so fucking great.
Yeah, between him and like Giancarlo Priti's son. That's what else do you need?
I know. The kid who speaks almost entirely in sign language except for what he's saying.
Because he knew slurs. 5 English words.
Yeah. So we got a couple of taglines here, and they're great. The year is 2000. 2 savage armies battle for supremacy of a shattered wasteland.
The year is not 2000. It is not.
No, because here's the other tagline. 1995 AD, the Bronx is declared a high-risk area. So fucking pick one, you guys. Pick one.
Who's to say? Who's to say at this point?
Yep. This movie is known in Germany as the Riffs, too, because the first one was called the Riffs.
And the UK is also Bronx Warriors.
Is it? Okay. It's like this one goes by a bunch of different names. Its original title is Fuga dal Bronx.
Because they didn't. So the deal with this movie was the first one did pretty well in a little bit in Italy, but mostly in France and in Japan. They did very well. And so they were like, oh crap, we got to fucking crank out another one of these. which is probably why Sacchetti did not write it, is I think they were just like, we don't have a lot of time. Let's get on this shit. And so they do, like, even Castellari, like, has been pretty open about, like, he doesn't like this movie. He doesn't think it's very good.
No kidding. Because I think this movie is tremendously fun. It is way more violent than the other one.
Well, so that was the deal. Is like, they were like, we got to amp up the action in it. So it doesn't have a lot of plot, probably because of timing, but also, like, people were just, I think they just wanted to see shit explode.
Sure.
Like, I can envision someone walking into, like, the fucking writing room and being like, well, we got half a script, and someone else just being like, hey, how about for the second half of the movie, everyone just shoots at each other?
Yeah. Because also at the same time as this, like, they used to rely very heavily on, like, theatrical sales, but this is where, like, 1983. We're talking the emergence of affordable VCRs.
Right. And this doesn't hit the U.S. until 85.
85 is when this one came out. Yeah. But still, Jesus, I'm really kind of surprised that the sort of the video store didn't save Italian film the way that it kind of
it transformed it, I think.
Yeah. Like the way that it kind of recreated the way that movies were made in America. The international market just did not touch. And maybe it was just because Americans could sort of smell the garlic on it, you know?
Yeah, well, I've got some reviews that will indicate as much.
Okay.
But also, there was a great quote from DeAngelis where he says, one movie makes money, you obviously have to make a second one. Well, that says it all.
I suppose. Yeah, this movie has a staggering body count of 174.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. So, what did the press think of this year movie?
Well, I had a really hard time finding reviews for this.
I would imagine as such.
This seems like one of those ones where most people were like, no thanks. We'll just give you a quick summary. But this is from the New York Daily News. It says, speaking of misleading movies, Escape from the Bronx doesn't detail the difficulties of hailing a downtown cab on Fordham Road. Hey-o. Instead, it's the latest in a string of Bronx-based Escape from New York Road Warrior ripoffs, produced in Italy, where that outer borough apparently enjoys an even worse reputation than it does here. The film, starring expatriates Henry Silva and Mark Gregory, don't know why she says that, but doesn't speak all that well about the state of
here's the thing. Maybe she was fooled by Mark Gregory.
Well, she's an idiot then. It doesn't speak all that well about the state of the Italian junk movie industry. The reviews, actually, the ones I could find aren't that interesting, but she does call them linguini losers. And I was like, hey, is that racist?
We got spaghetti westerns. We got macaroni combat, and now we've got linguini losers.
Yeah, what's the latest linguini loser? Then I found another one from, this is from the New Observer. This is in the UK. And it says, this is the only, basically the entire review is more heavy metal gang warfare, leather outfits, long hair, machine guns, and loads of action. And I put a note under it that says, I guess if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's something.
We should point out, I would like to circle back to, Francesco Tomasi does the score for this. The score is probably the best thing about this movie.
It's a pretty good score. Unfortunately, it's a very short score where they just use this theme over and over and over.
Yeah, honestly, I don't listen to it that often because it takes more time to put the record on and flip it over than it does to
But it is a good theme. I do like it quite a bit.
I'm a big fan of Francesco Tomasi. Did New York Ripper. He did a movie called Vengeance, I believe, also a Castellari movie. He also did a movie, scored a movie called Lesbo from the late 60s.
All right.
It's
very, very sapphic.
It's very Emmanuel adjacent.
Jesus fucking Christ, of course.
But he does it with Alessandro Alessandroni, who is really awesome. And so it is one of my favorite scores. So I urge everybody, please go listen to Francesco Tomasi.
Yeah. Listen, this guy knows his film music. You want to know how well? Listen to the latest Radio Free Haddonfield.
I know. Now I'm just I should have put some fucking Tomasi on there.
You know what? We'll do it. We'll do another version in a little while. You can put some Francisco Tomasi on it and some Alessandro Alessandroni.
Got a lot of that.
Yeah. So you want to jump in?
Well, I don't know. What other choice do we have?
We have none. We must do it.
It's literally the only thing we can do.
All right.
Oh, wait. One other fun fact about this movie. All of the explosions are controlled by Castellari.
Yes. He must have had the fucking time of his life because a lot of shit blows up in this movie. So we open on a sign which tells us to leave the Bronx. You can sign up.
Just sign up for a new house in enchanting New Mexico.
Who wouldn't trust this?
I don't know. When I see the word enchanting on a government sign, you know what? These days I wouldn't be that surprised, to be honest with you.
Meanwhile, people are being thrown out of windows by dudes in motorcycle helmets, while other guys in shiny fire suits with space helmets and flamethrowers escort people out of their tenements. A voice orders everyone to leave the Bronx. It has been
the voice is
declared
like
uninhabitable.
He says you have nothing to fear, and then the next scene is just them flame throwing some homeless guy.
Literally throwing people out the window.
And the guy that they do flame throw, honestly, he doesn't seem all that troubled by being set on fire.
He's like one of the animal appliances in the Flintstones, where he's like, it's a living.
Yeah, he's a little ambivalent about it.
So yeah, a bunch of these dudes in shiny suits find a homeless guy sleeping in a burnt out ruin and set him on fire with their flamethrowers. Consequently, literally the same flamethrowers from the end of Bronx Warriors.
Oh yeah, no, I told you there's a documentary on that Blue Underground collection.
Yeah,
where they go to the armorer who did like all of these movies. They go to his warehouse, like his factory or studio, I guess, whatever you call it. And he's just like, they go through the whole thing and it's just him pointing out like what was used where. He still has all of this shit.
That's amazing. I wouldn't use them, but that's amazing.
Oh God, no.
Meanwhile, a helicopter sweeps over the borough looking for someone. Who could that someone be? Well, the rock and roll soundtrack alerts us that it could only be our hero Trash. They caught him out in the open, and a bad guy tries to shoot him with a machine gun from the door of the helicopter.
And he just sort of clumsily stumbles. I feel like Trash spends a lot of time stumbling around in this movie.
He's just unsure of where to look, not really sure how to position his body.
What to do with his hands. He never knows.
Trash takes cover, deftly avoiding the bullets until he lines up a perfect shot and blows up the entire helicopter with a pistol.
And we get a shot of I'm guessing the machine gunner.
Yeah, the dummy.
Falling from it. It is hilarious.
It is hilarious. It is like a G.I. Joe guy just tumbling through the air.
But like just ass over tea kettle, like one like dummy leg over another, just flipping through the air.
It is so great. There are so many fucking models in this movie, and they're awesome.
Mm-hmm. And by awesome, you mean not very good.
Unbelievably crappy is what I mean.
This is not the Toho crew making these.
I can't tell if my favorite is when they blow up the neighborhood buildings or when they blow up the Porsche.
It looks like they're blowing up Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
They definitely do. It is so fucking awesome. Yeah. So the street sweeper guys assume that Trash is going back to his parents' house. So they're ordered to get there first.
I want to say right up top here, the quote unquote New York accents that we get in this, they almost invariably veer straight on into Jewish stereotype voice. Because this is where we can hear Trash's parents of like, we're not in the building yet. We could just for some reason hear them arguing
very loudly.
And his father is like, what right do they have to throw us out of the house and tell us we got to go live in New Mexico? Who wants to live in New Mexico? It's terrible.
It is unreal. Yeah. To answer his question is like, I know, buddy. I know. Who the fuck wants to live in New Mexico?
Very few people want to live there.
People living in New Mexico don't even want to live in New Mexico.
No, I mean, if you're like a turquoise jewelry enthusiast, if
you own a power sports dealership,
or you want to build a geodesic dome, that's probably the right place for you. Yeah, there's some people, I guess.
Yeah, you want to cook some meth.
What I also love is we do finally cut into their apartment and we get to see Trash's parents. Now on the wall
is a poster of their son.
A giant poster of Mark Gregory from the first movie.
Yep.
And then on the opposite
just looking
wall,
statuesque.
Yeah, on the opposite wall, it appears to be like pages of like Italian Teen Beat or Bop magazine or something. But then they sort of like zoom in, and I was like, oh, they kind of look a little bit more like a knockoff Tom of Finland, or like a Tom of Italia.
Good God, like very
Italians, am I right?
Yeah, just Etruscan hunks on every wall.
It's very, very strange set decoration.
Yep. His dad is played by Roman Gere, who you've definitely seen in other movies if you make a habit out of watching Italian junk food movies. He's in Robo War after the fall.
You mean Linguini Losers?
Yes, Linguini Losers, like Robo War, after the fall of New York, and Contraband, though I do enjoy Contraband a lot.
Contraband, I would leave that one for a different category.
Oh no, definitely not a loser. That's definitely a high point for Lucio Fulci. Also, like we said, I'm going to leave that out. That's the note about the poster of trash. Then the spacesuit guys bust into their apartment. Trash's dad beats a couple of them up with a bat, but they got flamethrowers, which is tough to beat, and they roast him and Trash's mom on the spot.
I gotta be honest, flamethrower seems like a really unwieldy weapon.
You got to be careful how you use them. You're going to set literally everything on fire.
I mean, this is a thing that is constantly leaking fuel.
Right.
Until you pull the trigger and it just starts spraying it everywhere.
Yeah. And as we come to find out, like, all you got to do is just shoot the backpack and it explodes.
Yeah, if you've ever played a video game, you know that's all you got to do. Or been in Vietnam, I guess.
So meanwhile, Trash rides his motorcycle into some tunnels under the Bronx to deliver some scavenge goods to the gangs of the Bronx who are living down there in the tunnels.
We hard cut to what I can only assume is an early 80s German discotheque.
Right. That's what in the trailer where I see them and it's like, it's Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Yeah, it's like until you start to see some of the other gangs, it's like, is he in one of the discos and cruising?
Yeah, this is like a weird. I was gonna make a Fred Halstead joke, and then I was like, too niche. But also, did you notice that Trash has Confederate flag patches on his jacket?
Oh yeah, and there's also like a couple of gangsters who have like biker stuff. So there's like SS and like swastikas on their jackets.
Yeah, I feel like someone should have stepped in and just been like, hey guys, I'm generally not going to disagree with your perception of Americans. However, you know what? Turns out they weren't wrong.
Nope, they weren't. He's received by a flamboyant old pirate named Doubloon, henceforth to be known as Toblerone.
I refer to him in my notes as a background player in Pirates of the Penzance. Why is he dressed like this? He has a frilly blouse. He has the blousiest blouse I've ever seen.
And he's wearing like dangly chandelier Alec earrings and shit like that.
No, just one earring.
Just the one. In the wrong ear, I might add.
Ayo. And then we walk by, and for some reason on the table is this huge metal tray full of like root vegetables and stew vegetables.
Yeah, he just grabs and starts like noshing on it.
Yeah, like menacingly eating this giant carrot. Like, this is improv. This is that Sabato improv. You're getting what you paid for here.
He is. And he is completely dominating the scene. Like, he is throwing, like lurching to and fro. He's like shouting at everybody. Take a big bite and like spit it on the ground and call everybody cabrones.
Yeah, it is a lot. Because once he was done with that carrot, he goes for all of the scenery and he gets it. He gets it all. But someone has to. Mark Gregory's sure as hell not doing it.
He is. If Mark Gregory is the understated hero of this movie, Toblerone is out of his fucking mind throughout this whole. His main characteristic is that he laughs at everything, and it's not just like normal ordinary laughter. It's ha 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 ha. Like
no, it's like it is villainous. But what I do like is that even though Mark Gregory doesn't have that sort of wooden walk, he still has that real sassy sachet every time he walks away. Like, it's the next best thing to like a hair flip and a snap of the fingers.
He swings his hips when he walks, and it is just impossible not to notice.
And like every now and then he kind of like prances.
Yep. Doesn't run.
You gotta wonder if like he did something to his back at some point, because I think obviously in the first one it's like trademark
Oh, yeah. It is like there's an iron rod dropped down the back of his pants.
But in this one, he still struts. He is stomping the runway a lot of the time.
Yep. We also see that most of the gangs from the last movie are still there, like the soft shoe dancing Iron Man and the zombies.
Love them. And then that the lady, the tap dancing lady who leads their gang, she's there. I got really excited when I saw her.
I know. We needed way more of her. Though I would say she and her Iron Man are in this movie more than they are in the last one.
That's true. We don't get a demonstration.
Nope.
But they're in it.
Yep. Toblerone inspects Trash's goods, which is a bag full of ammo that was apparently just laying around the Bronx, I guess. Toblerone is going to be doing a lot of laughing in this movie, so I hope you like it. Then Trash rides his bike up the stairs to his parents' apartment, but he's too late. He runs into some dudes looting the place, so he beats the crap out of them in slow motion.
I love that he tries to have these like really, this is a beautiful grief-stricken moment with his parents, but he also keeps getting attacked in the process.
Yep.
It's like the music doesn't quite go with what's happening on the screen.
Then he finds his parents, and all that's left of them is their charred bodies. So now elsewhere in the city, a shifty company man for the GC Corporation presents the new vision of the future for the Bronx. A model of shiny buildings with white balls on the roofs so that you know it's the future.
It's terrible.
It's fucking awful.
It's tacky and ugly.
No, it's essentially the plot of RoboCop 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
But without the money.
Or Tom Noonan. There's a lady reporter there who very loudly calls bullshit, claiming that the people are being deported or killed instead of going to New Mexico. Who knew?
Yeah, who let the radical feminist in here?
They throw her out and resume the press conference.
It all feels very familiar, a little too familiar, honestly.
Yeah. They can't start construction on the future city because of the gangs who hide underground, but don't worry about that annoying reporter. This is all on the up and up.
Well, so he says, they're like, wait, what about that? What about what that lady said? And he's like, don't worry, all the families have been relocated to beautiful, glorious New Mexico, and everyone has been compensated. Now, the funny thing about that is, this is exactly what they did during early urban renewal. So one of the first urban renewal projects in this country was the West End of Boston.
Yeah.
And they fucked it up so badly because they were like, no, we moved all of those families out. We gave them lots of money. Everybody's happy. Turned out none of that was true. They basically just forced all of these people out of their homes and tore it down.
So this movie is torn from the headlines, basically.
Pretty much. You'd be like, oh, these Italians don't know anything about American history. Well, they know a hell of a lot more than most people do.
Yeah, outside
and about the American future, for that matter.
Oh yeah, these reporters, except for the annoying reporter lady, these guys are all like on the payroll, kind of like how the entire media is now.
Yeah,
it's great. It's a grim vision of the future. It's the one thing that they really got right. So outside the GC office building, the reporter lady busts back in on the press corps as they interview the president of the GC Corporation. She has a photo of the guy.
Who doesn't seem all that broken up about, wasn't his daughter kidnapped in the last one?
Is this the same company?
It's the same company and it's the same guy.
Oh my God, yeah. She has a photo of the guy heading up the relocation program of the Bronx, a guy, like we said, named Floyd Wrangler.
Floyd Wrangler!
Who used to be a prison warden. And the past tense is because he was forced out for being so cruel and violent. So meanwhile, back in the Bronx, they're forcing poor people out of their homes. The bad guys in silver suits are part of the Disinfestation Annihilation Squad. And Floyd Wrangler is leading the operation.
I thought disinfestation is that the best you could come up with?
Right. I'm going to call them.
They had 4 days.
I'm going to call them murder squads from now on.
Mm-hmm.
So back at their place, Trash mourns over the bodies of his parents. A guy outside tells everyone to evacuate. They're about to demolish the neighborhood. They try to tell Wrangler that people are still inside, but he has them proceed with the demolition regardless. Then they blow up the neighborhood while Trash is still inside.
Trash goes prancing down the hall to escape the demolition. He has a ginger step.
He's got a nice little saunter to it.
Mm-hmm.
So the building is coming down around him as he runs, eventually falling into a basement, unconscious under some debris. He regains consciousness after some tension over whether or not a ladder was going to fall on him or something. And then he runs away.
Again, there's really not a lot of dialogue. This is a lot like when we did the Ghidorah movie.
Oh shit, yeah. And then it was
Or it's just like, and then Ghidorah shows up and he's stomping on things and lights stuff on fire. And then Godzilla shows up and he's also mad about everything. It's starting to feel like Butters from South Park just telling you what's happening in the movie.
Yeah. Out in the limo, the GC president gives Wrangler a hard time about his methods. Wrangler, who is dressed like a Nazi, insists that the people who remain in the Bronx are less than human and have to be eliminated.
I feel like the Italians, now obviously the Italians, they have a different history with fascism. They have a very robust one, but it is a different one nonetheless. But they seem a lot more willing to embrace that aesthetic for the purposes of entertainment than, say, the Germans or the Americans.
Right. Because at least in Italy's case, they took care of their own guy and literally hung his body out in the palazzo so everybody could kick him in the head.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah. We might just write that one down.
I'm just saying, would we have options?
I'm just going to put that on my vision board.
We have options.
So
we don't have to go back to France in the 1700s. There's more modern examples.
So one of the murder squad spots a bunch of dudes hanging around in a ruin and go to fuck them up, but the joke's on them. They pull the covers off of one guy who appears to be sleeping, and it's Trash who shoots them. And then the Bronx dudes go ape shit on the murder squad, shooting them and blowing them up. And it's all awesome slow-mo shit.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of combat in this that is done in slow motion for no particular reason.
Other than it's awesome.
And they were like, well, they don't have much of a script, so maybe he takes his time falling off of the roof.
Really stretch it out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And Wrangler is pissed. He orders them to find Trash and kill him. Elsewhere, the reporter lady and her photographer friend climb down into the tunnels under the Bronx while Trash and his gang set up another ambush.
Oh, this is when they try to rescue the ones that were like picked up by the disinformation squad, whatever the fuck they're called.
Yes.
And the guy's like, I'm strapped with a bomb.
That's such a great scene.
And they all start blowing up.
Yeah. So yeah, this time the murder squad has hostages that they're marching through the neighborhood. Trash springs the trap, jumping down from the fire escape, and they shoot the shit out of the murder squad. When some of Trash's guys go to untie one of the prisoners, they learn that the prisoners are a trap too. They're rigged with bombs, which blows up a bunch of Trash's guy, but they also manage to turn the bombs on the murder squad guys.
Yeah, there's one point where like one of the guys from Trash's group like runs straight up to one of the guys from the murder squad.
Oh yeah, and he explodes into like meaty chunks.
Yep, it's fantastic.
It's awesome. It's so fucking cool.
Because it's very clearly just like a wooden dummy.
Yeah.
And then they've like packed some meat and some ketchup onto him. And then they both blow up.
Outstanding. Meanwhile, the reporter lady and her photographer are taking pictures of the street fight, and a flamethrower guy sneaks up on the photographer and roasts him.
That's a feature wrap on Jay.
So the reporter runs and hides in a burnt out building and is nearly caught, but Trash gets the drop on them and kills them too. So now back at GC Corporation, the president and his crony give Wrangler a hard time again about letting Trash and the reporter get away, but he assures them that it's all good. The only problem is that the Undercity is full of tunnels and it'll be hard to track them down.
This is also where he calls him that delinquent Trash person. And it sounds like, I know that he's just referring to Trash, but it sounds like he's calling him a trash person.
Yeah. So Trash brings the reporter, whose name is Moon Gray, to meet Toblerone, who assures her that the people from the city above won't come down into their place. But then one of his lady gang members comes in with a bloody helmet of one of the murder squad guys, which troubles him. So they all tool up and get ready for the murder squad invasion.
Now, the reporter, her accent is what I would say that borders a little bit on Cyndi Lauper. Like, she's more like, hey, I'm from New York. I'm walking here.
Yeah, she is the longest of Long Island.
Yeah. The longest island you can find.
Yep.
In Italy.
Or Staten Island. Shaolin Land, if you will.
And she also keeps calling him the thief of Baghdad and Ali Baba. And I was like, is she improving? What's happening? Is she being racist?
They've got some really, really weird like epithets and insults in this movie. But yeah, she calls him like the thief of Baghdad a couple of times. And I'm like, but he's supposed to be Spanish. Oh,
and a pirate. And he's a pirate.
And he's a pirate. And his name is Toblerone.
Hey.
So, yeah, Moon thinks that they're getting ready for war is a bad plan. Her plan to get the GC Corporation to negotiate a withdrawal is to kidnap their president.
Yeah, I love how like initially she's just like, you are treating these people so badly and you need to respect their human rights. And like 20 minutes later, she's like, I got a plan. We're going to kidnap that motherfucker. We're going to cut his head off on national television.
So, yep. The only way that they can do that is to crawl under to the city to their building and dig their way in. They'll need to find the guy who organized such a caper in the past, a guy named Strike.
Yeah, and they say that Strike is living in a villa in Long Island. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound right. So the Bronx is a desolate wasteland, and so is Long Island?
Yeah. So off they go, eventually getting caught up by a little kid with a gun.
And what's the first thing he says? Go back home, fag.
Yep. And they talk.
That's the only English he knows.
Yeah, and it is the exchange between him and Trash is exactly like when he needed to talk to Ogre in the first movie, where instead of like talking it out, he's like, I need to talk to Ogre. And they're like, yeah, right, get out of here, Trash. And he goes, I need to talk to Ogre. And they're like, fine, okay,
fine,
whatever.
I guess
he does the
so.
same thing in this one where he goes, I need to talk to Strike, and that's when the kid throws the F slur at him, and then he goes, I need to talk to Strike, and that's when the kid gets down and is like, all right, follow me, watch out for the
it's
bombs.
like, you know what, I get you. You're good people. Come on. And I think this is Giancarlo Pridi's actual son.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So Giancarlo Pridi is the guy who plays Strike.
They got a simpatico, I gotta say.
They do.
So when they get there, they find a place loaded with weapons, and Strike is hiding in a confessional booth.
Yeah, what a strange and mysterious villa you have, Strike, here in Long Island.
We were led to believe that, like, he's a guy, you got to watch yourself with this guy, because if you catch him in a bad mood, man, he's going to get you. And when he comes out, he's like Toblerone, but like dialed down about 50%.
Yeah, and like the first thing he does is sexually assaults that woman.
Or does, because that's the thing is,
it's very,
does
it's
he
unclear.
just grab her, or do they have a past?
Well,
it's implied that they know each other, or like we're like a thing at one time.
I think we are left to infer that they maybe know each other, but like he definitely just grabs her. But I think it's more like, yeah, but she's into it, right? I mean, you know, women, come on.
I mean, look at this guy. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't take much to talk him into kidnapping the president.
And Strike he is quite the patriot, I have to admit. He has got just American flags up the fucking wazoo in his place. In his villa.
Yeah. In Long Island, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So they make their way under the city, Strike's kid laying traps and bombs behind them as they go. They eventually emerge from pretty much the same sewer pipe in Brooklyn that served as the exterior of the Ogre's place.
Oh, no, that
Warriors.
is exactly the same.
Yep. They find that the GC Corporation thugs have the roads all blocked off and have to get creative, sneaking around and all that.
This is like the whole thing feels like a mission from Assassin's Creed. Like, I'm surprised they don't just like duck into some sawgrass or try to blend in with the crowd at some point. But yeah, this is the same exact location that they shot the first one in because they're about to tear it down.
Oh, okay. So they arrive to find the GC Press stooges reporting on the beginnings of the new hospital in place of the old burned out building. And then the president arrives in a helicopter for his photo op. Trash's party needs a distraction so they can grab the president. So Moon runs out and does her shouty accusey thing.
Now, here I thought what she was going to do, because she's like, oh, a distraction, you say? And then she just fucking charges in. Look, it's the 80s. This is not my fault for assuming that this is what she was going to do. I just thought she was going to whip up her shirt. And I have seen this movie 800 times.
Listen, if you have ever seen a woman in an 80s movie say, I'll distract them, you know what's going to happen next.
Thank you.
Yes. But no, she goes out and just keeps like, you know, they're the real criminals. They're killing everybody. That, you know, like she's doing her thing.
And then they just kill her.
And then they fucking shoot her. One of the guys just goes, she's got a gun. Clearly she does not. Doesn't fucking matter. They're fascists. So they shoot her dead. And
I love that. I love that moment because you're just like, you think she's going to be in the movie till the end. Like she's the love interest.
Oh no. She's
fully expendable.
She is Maggie from Escape from New York.
Oh. Oh,
So yeah, in the confusion, Strike and Trash make their move on the president. Trash grabs him, and then of course a gunfight ensues.
and then you hear one of the cops go, "Look how he runs! He's a fag."
That's the
Come
one I
on,
had.
man, reel it in.
But it's not even that. It's like it's quiet, and they're laughing at like the way one of their own guys runs.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, it's the 80s.
Oh my god, it's so fucking weird. Yeah.
And we wonder why anyone under 35 has internalized homophobia.
Yeah, then Strike throws a hand grenade at those homophobes, which blows them to glorious homophobic chunks.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yep. As a matter of fact, lots of dudes get blown up in slow motion as Trash and Strike bring the president down into the tunnels.
Well, I told you, because Castellari's got the button. He's like, we're blowing up everything.
He's like, I get to do this myself? Oh, shit. Order way more explosives than what we got right now.
Well, his justification for it was, he was like, as the director, I have to, I'm the one who knows when this stuff has to go off.
Oh, sure.
And precisely,
sure. Okay.
well, that's when D'Angelo's breaks in and he's like, yeah, but you're also the one who assumes all of the risk and liability by doing that. He was like, so thanks, buddy.
Yeah. The murder squads chase them down into the subway with Wrangler. Strike's kid catches back up with them, and they run all the way home with the murder squad guys chasing them and running into all their explosive traps like a bunch of fucking idiots. And
also, Henry Silva's role in this movie is basically to just sort of stand around smoking and looking menacingly, and then just
he sits
occasionally
back and he looks off
quipping.
into the middle distance and like strokes his chin, and then somebody says something to him, and he gets really sassy.
Mm-hmm. But this is also where, so this movie, and this is probably English is like a second or third language or whatever, like not first language for most of these people. You can tell there is a lot of excessive swearing.
Oh yeah. Up in this scene in particular, so the president's last name is Clark, and so like they don't just talk to him; they call him Mr. Fucking Clark, and they really,
it's stuff like that where it's like it's a real hat on a hat type of thing. Because he's like, come on, big shot bastard. It's like, get moving, you son of a bitch bastard. It's like, okay.
I'm going to squeeze his balls off and rip him down his throat. And still, they really put some emphasis on the swearing.
Like, is this how people in Italy talk? I hope so.
I love it. I fucking love the way these guys talk to each other. So the president tries to get away with the chaos, but he has no idea where he's going. He just runs into some more murder squad guys, but Strike and Trash get the drop on them and kill them too.
Oh, is this is after they climb down the rope?
Yes.
Deeper into the sewers. So something must happen here where they fall out of sync a little bit, where Strike is like shooting all these people, but the guys are like a second or a second and a half delayed in their reaction. So he'll shoot, and then like there's a little bit of a lag, and then they go flying back. So it sort of looks like they just like slipped on a banana peel.
Yeah. Up top, Wrangler tells the GC crony guy that he's leading Trash and Strike into some kind of trap. He sends more guys down who step on the electrified rails that Strike's kid set up, and they also run into some tripwires for more exploding action. And then they give Wrangler a cup of coffee that he sips, and then he spits it out. He's like, I told you, no sugar.
Well, that's what he's there for. I feel like bringing a child into guerrilla warfare is at best bad parenting. Now, as the bad parent on this podcast, would you do that with your children?
If he were an explosive expert and I needed an explosives expert, I might.
I wouldn't be surprised.
My son, he's not an explosives expert.
Okay, but I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me he was an explosive. He's pretty nerdy in a good way.
Yeah. Up in the office, the crony guy starts stroking the city model as if he's got something sneaky up his sleeve. And he then has a receptionist take down a memo. He makes up some story about how the Bronx gangs are holding the president hostage for an unreasonable sum of money, and they'll kill him if they don't get it.
Yeah, it's like the Italians presaged Fox News and the GOP.
Right. When Trash and Strike get back to the gang lair, the gangs bum rush the president. Toblerone has to restore order and do some more ridiculous laughing.
This is when his lady sidekick comes running in, and I've seen this movie a fuckload of times. I laughed out loud as soon as she came running in. She looks like she is dressed for a community theater production of Rocky Horror Picture Show. She looks like reject Stevie Nicks.
She is wearing the same exact costume as the ogre's kind of bondage girlfriend from the last one.
She looks so silly in this.
Right. Yeah, it looks like everything is coming up Millhouse, but the murder squads instead pipe nerve gas down into the hideout now that they know where it is. Won't this also kill the president, you might be asking? That's a good question. So now Crony Guy shows up in a sweet red Porsche, and Wrangler explains how the gas works. It's too bad about the president, but sacrifices have to be made.
Oh, this is when Henry Silva breaks the fourth wall for some reason. Like, he just turns to the camera and, like, narrates his plan.
I love it. I fucking love it.
And then we hard cut to Trash and the president, like a couple other people in the, the ancient tunnels that are underneath the Bronx.
Right. This is an actual cave system that ran.
They are in an
Rome.
actual cave. So yes, they're under a castle in Rome, and it is an actual cave, like an ancient cave system.
That's so great. So thankfully, Crony Guy is there to blame the gangs for killing the president and assume the role of the new president of the GC Corporation.
This is also where we see the rest of the gang. Like they're essentially like clearing out the tunnels, and like all the gang members are scattering and everything. And this is when we see like all the leather daddies and like the silver tap dancing assassins.
Yeah.
Like you see them running, and I'm just like, you know what? That's what this movie is missing. Campy fun.
Because this movie is mostly. It's almost like they watched the first one and they were like, our favorite part is when the like three of them sneak under the city to get to the zombies' lair to like rescue Trash's girlfriend, because that's mostly what this entire movie is. It's
but then you show up and George Eastman is dressed like a fucking field hockey warrior.
Yeah,
that's the fun part,
right? Like none of those characters are really in this movie. Like none of Trash's because you got to remember, Trash is the leader of a gang.
Well, that's why I was watching that interview and they were like, well, it's not quite a sequel because it's not really a continuation of the movie. It's more just like more Trash antics. Yeah. But it's like, you misjudged what people like about this movie. It's not Mark Gregory. You thought it was, and you invested a lot of money, and I'm sorry for that. But
Bronx Warriors has Fred Williamson in it, and that goes a long way.
I mean, I am willing to forgive that man for being an absolute terrible piece of shit just because he's in these movies. So, yeah, like that's what they really misunderstood. It's like, you thought what people want is like this goofy, dumb, macho bullshit. And maybe in Italy or in France or wherever they did, but like, that's not why these movies survive. And put a pin in that because I'm going to come back to this at the end.
Okay. So now everybody runs as the gas floods the tunnel. Trash and Strike take the president, go another way as the murder squads invade and kill the gangs. Toblerone leads the gangs up into the streets to take on the murder squads directly, and then a huge street war erupts.
And this is basically the last half of the movie.
Pretty much. Trash takes the president, runs, but some more debris falls on him, giving the president another chance to run away. When he pulls himself out of the wreckage, all that remains of his outfit is a tattered tank top so you can fully appreciate his physique.
Because he was like, come on, guys. I know I haven't been working that hard.
Yeah. And he's like, the pizza in this city is really good.
And they were like, Marco, too much manja.
Yeah. So as they run away, Toblerone's lady gets blasted, kind of like Maggie at the end of Escape from New York.
Yeah,
except
Stevie Nicks gets
no
gunned
idea
down.
who she is here, so it really doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah, but she was a porn star who became a political leader.
Truly an inspiring
That's
story.
the power of sex films.
Yep. As they run away, amid all the chaos, the president comes running out, so Wrangler goes to rescue him, but shoots him in the face instead.
Right before Stevie Nicks gets gunned down in her ridiculous outfit, there's this long, for some reason, in all of the action, this like nonstop shoot 'em up bullshit action. Antonio Sabato turns and shoots this guy on the roof, and it is this long, dramatic, slow-mo fall for no reason.
Well, Castellari was a spaghetti western guy. Like, I think most of his movies, he was all over the place, and he did whatever he was hired to do. But he made a lot of spaghetti westerns, which slow-mo deaths are all up and down that shit.
I know. I think he made some of the Sartana movies.
Yeah.
Those movies aren't good.
Also, Strike blows up a truck impressively with a shotgun.
Oh yeah, no, we're blowing up everything. Now my question for you is, because they will destroy everything in this entire scene. Will be blown up at one point or another. What do you think they did with all this shit afterwards? You think they just left it there?
Maybe.
Or did they recycle it for another movie?
You know what? They probably, I guarantee that as soon as they wrapped, another post-nuke movie started production in it.
Probably.
Like the day after.
Where they are, they found like this, not an abandoned area, but like a part of the city, a part of Rome that was like more or less abandoned. Like the houses were kind of burned out. And so they were like, this is perfect. So they have this whole like shut down city, part of the city that they could just fucking destroy.
That's fantastic.
For days and days. And they were like, we found this part and we never left. Like most of the exteriors are shot in New York and then they come back to Rome and shoot here. And it's like, that's why all of this takes place in like 2 city blocks.
You're right. So now Crony guy, thinking he's the president, gets back into his Porsche and starts to drive away. But Strike also shoots it with his shotgun and blows it up. And it is beautiful because it looks like a Matchbox car being blown to pieces.
But it looks like I made a Matchbox car and then blew it to pieces.
Yep. As a matter of fact, lots of shit is blowing up. Everything, in fact.
Everything.
Cars, trucks, the flamethrower backpacks. It's great.
Yeah. Here's the deal. Like, I'm not kidding. The last 40 minutes of this movie, maybe the last 30 minutes of this movie.
No, for real, it is about the last 20 minutes of this movie. It is just...
It's a gunfight. It's chaos.
Trash's gang guys go running into an alley and they shoot the guys in the silver suits. And then we cut to another scene where the silver suit guys run into an alley and shoot Trash's guys. And then we cut to another one where a truck blows up and then some guys get blown off of a roof and then more. Because by the end of the movie, when this movie finally ends and the credits roll, literally the only people still left alive are Strike's kid, and Trash.
It must have been a bitch to coordinate this whole thing. But given all the shit that's blowing up, you can just see Castellari just running around with buttons, just like leaping through the air, like fucking Warwick Davis and Leprechaun, just like, whee!
Oh, he must have been. It's like that Muppet who's always blowing shit up, the guy with the little plunger box, just having the time of his life.
And he's a small man, so it works.
I can understand why he wanted to be the bomb guy. So now Toblerone encounters Wrangler, who shoots him dead on the spot.
When the Wrangler and the Mr. Clark thing happens, or not the new guy, not Mr. Clark, the new guy. He's like, yeah, it's taken care of. Don't worry about it. And they linger. The camera lingers on. This is before his Ferrari blows up. The camera lingers on it, and I was like, are these two gonna kiss? What's happening?
Yep. Then Wrangler kills, he shoots Toblerone dead. To sleep, to laugh no more. It's a little Hamlet for you.
It's good.
Then Wrangler starts to make his getaway in a murder
He's
squad
a pirate
truck.
cut down in the prime of his life.
He's driving the murder squad truck, driving over dead bodies. Trash just out in front of him, tries to shoot him, but Wrangler managed to shoot him instead. Trash gets out of the way and then shoots the truck with his pistol, blowing it to pieces with Wrangler inside. And so now with all the bad guys dead, Trash surveys the carnage. Everything's on fire. Everybody appears to be dead. And he and Strike seem to be very satisfied with what they've done, and they part ways.
It's true. Because his son is just like, hey, Trash, why don't you come with us? And Trash is just like, get out of here, you two.
why I oughta. Yeah, they do this like weird like hand signal shit.
Yeah, it is.
And then we freeze frame and roll credits, baby.
Whew, what the shit? What a movie.
What a Bernie, shooty, explodey ride.
And so here's my question for you. So I'm watching the interview with Castellari and DeAngelis, and they're talking to each other, and it's a 3-part interview. Each disc in this 3-disc collection has one part of it. And so it's like an hour long altogether. And at the very end of it, the guy is just like, oh, we thank you, people from Blue Underground or whatever who came all the way to Italy to film us do this thing. And they're in like what I'm going to assume is Castellari's gold-plated home or something.
in his villa.
Yeah, it's gauche to say the least. And but D'Angelo says, he asks Castellari, he's like, you know, I've made like 200 movies or whatever. He's like, everybody wants to talk about these movies. Why do you think that people still, because he's like, I remember these movies fondly. You know, they were successful. We had a good time, whatever. It was great working with you, blah, 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 you know, platitudes. But he was like, why do you think people are still, these are the movies they want to talk about? And I'm going to put that question to you because these are not good movies.
These are not good movies at all, but I love them. And I think of the sort of Italian maxploitation movies, these are probably my favorite. They are very colorful. They are very loud. They don't spend a lot of time on character or anything like that, because there are others where it's like they really want you to, like, I don't know, like their lone wolf, sort of terse characters who never really speak. They just kind of exchange steely glances. Mark Gregory has a very, even though he's like wooden and not an actor, he has a very enigmatic presence about him.
He's endearing. He has something charming about him that you're like, you are terrible at this. You will look extremely uncomfortable. And because of those things, I feel a little bad for you.
Right. Cause like there's others where like, the guy I've forgotten his name already, but the guy who plays his father in this, he plays the lead in a couple of these. Al Cliver plays the lead in a bunch of these. And like, I like Al Cliver.
Christopher Connolly is usually the one.
Christopher Connolly is in a bunch of these, and like they're all these kind of like old, except for Cliver, who's definitely got a look, but he doesn't have the same sort of charm. They're just not as good.
It's an awkward, sweaty charm.
Yeah, like there's this movie, Bronx Warriors, and even though it has nothing to do with either of these fucking movies, New Barbarians is also equally as bizarre and charming. There's a car with a big drill bit that like literally drills a dude up the butt. Like it's just these movies are out fucking rageous in a way that the others are not.
There's a self-awareness to them where they know they're goofy and they know they're silly. And like, yeah, even though they try to make them a little bit serious, like we put the Hell's Angels in this. It's like, yeah, but you also put a bunch of fucking silver suited tap dancing like villains in it. Yeah. So like, I can't.
Yeah, Castellari has a charisma that like some of the others don't. Like Fulci has made some of these, but this was also on the sort of backside of Fulci's career.
Fulci was very serious,
and he's that Joe D'Amato made a couple of these, and D'Amato's movies have a real sort of dour, acidic, and nasty quality to them.
Yeah, because D'Amato was also serious, but in a real kind of sleazy way.
Yeah, in a really kind of dirty, scummy way. The only other one that I think really kind of reaches these heights and is as enjoyable is After the Fall of New York, because that one also has a lot of the same cast. It has a lot of the same aesthetic. It really kind of reaches. It has some very sort of ambitious special effects. In the same way that this one does.
Guido and Maurizio D'Angelo score too, I think.
Yeah, and but also that one also has is it Michael Sopkiw? Is how you say his last name. I can't remember. But he's also this kind of like enigmatic actor who they hired thinking he was going to be their thing. And then he kind of fucking makes a couple of movies and vanishes in the same way. So I don't know. These movies just have a charm and a color about them that is absent from the others. And you see the same sort of quality that runs through a lot of Castellari's other movies, like Eagles Over London is a period picture about the RAF defense against the Blitz.
He's also one of the only directors. So I really do like Franco Nero. Like Franco Nero is one of those like rare people who show up in some of these movies where you're like, oh, you were actually a very good actor.
Yeah.
But he's a very serious man in most things. Like he's a very like masculine Italian guy.
Oh yeah, he brings that to Enter the Ninja, which makes that movie so fucking weird to watch.
But when he worked with Castellari, he is somehow very charming wherein he's usually not very charming in these movies.
Like everybody's just having fun on these.
And that's what I think the difference in these movies is, that we've encountered this a bunch of times when we've watched either Shit for This or Bring Me the Axe or whatever. When but you can tell when everybody's having a good time doing what they're doing. It translates into the movie itself when you're having fun. But one of the things I think is, because I finished this movie and I was like, I think in some ways this is a better movie. But then I was kind of like, but is it a better movie? Like, is it technically a better movie? Sure. But is it a better movie as an audience member? No, because it's not. It's missing the fun, less serious stuff that they really hit you with in the first, because they're obsessed with the Warriors in the first one. The Warriors is nothing if not colorful and flamboyant. And that's why Bronx Warriors is so fun, because it's a ripoff of the Warriors. So it's silly and colorful and flamboyant. And this is missing the silly and flamboyant piece.
Yeah. Also, there's a sort of unspoken quality of this one that we didn't mention is Sergio Salvati did all the cinematography on Bronx Warriors, which is why that movie has a very cinematic look about it. The guy who did the photography on this one is also I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's also a accomplished cinematographer, but not in the same way that Salvati is. So it looks different. I think that the appeal of this one, for me personally, is that it is way more fucking violent.
Oh yeah, it's one explosion after another.
It's that when a couple of times there's an attack that they really are in love with in this one, which is hitting the helmet guys in the face.
The broken helmet, yeah.
The broken helmet always results in a bloody face wound that is like an explosion of blood. Yeah.
And unfortunately, though, that is to make up for the lack of story, the lack of script. Is just make it more violent, because we don't really have time to write a fully fleshed out script. And that's not to say that their scripts are ever any good. Sorry, apologies to Dardano Spaghetti, but they're not. It's just, but I think it is missing the fun piece of it.
Yeah, that is it. Is there's the gangs.
It's chaos. It's chaotic, but
yeah, the gangs are really the charm of the first one. The fact that Trash's gang are actual Hell's Angels really kind of lends a little something to it. This one, you're instead kind of forced to spend all of your time with Trash, who's just not a terribly compelling character.
No, he's not charismatic.
He's got no charisma, but he's a compelling presence in a lot of really strange ways. But I don't know.
I mean, it does allow for Antonio Sabato to really sweep in.
just dominate every scene he's in.
Antonio Sabato, he is the Italian Faye Dunaway. He just comes in here, pushes everybody out of the way.
Yeah. It's fucking A. That's the thing, is they didn't get Fred Williamson for this one, so they had to get somebody else who was going to come in and just command presence in the same way.
Yeah.
And boy, did they get that with fucking Antonio Sabato.
Yep.
But yeah, this movie's a lot of fun. I love it. I love it to death. I do think that Bronx Warriors is a little better.
Yeah.
So
every time I watch these, I want to then go and watch more of this shit.
And then they just don't hold up the way
they never
these ones do.
They're not quite as fun. They don't have the same kind of big appeal that this one does. So.
Yeah, these three are the three that and After the Fall of New York are those are the ones that I keep going back to, and there's dozens of these movies.
More than that.
But none of them really hold my attention the way that these ones do.
Endgame, maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
about it.
Yeah. Is it Texas Gladiator? That's not Texas.
Okay, yeah, no, I loved Texas Gladiators too.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. They're both great. That Blue Underground three-way of this and Bronx Warriors and New Barbarians, well worth a purchase.
Yeah, it's $20.
Yeah, it's super cheap. You get 3 great movies,
and I watch them all the time.
Yep. So, hey, that said, where are we going next?
Well, next week, Bring Me the Axe, we're going to be celebrating Black History Month, and I tell you right now, more important than ever that we celebrate Black History Month, because God knows the government is going to try and fucking get rid of it. So we're going to be watching the quintessential black vampire flick, Blackula.
Hell yeah.
Now, do I think that the second one has a far superior name? I think it's one of the best titles ever created in history.
Yeah, go look that up and have and really admire it.
But we're starting at the beginning with Blackula. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to be coming back. We're going to be comparing today's picture with the infinitely better movie that it's ripping off, Escape from New York.
Hell yeah. Guys, get ready. That is my favorite movie of all time. And we are going to go fucking
like it.
ape shit on that one.
I like it quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my favorite John Carpenter movie. It's my favorite John Carpenter soundtrack. It is my favorite fucking movie of all time. Just get ready. We are going to make sweet, sweet love to that film. So yeah, be back in 2. Be back in 1 for Blackula. That one's sure to be fantastic as well. It's a great movie. And like we said, back in 2 for Escape from New York.